President Biden's son found guilty.
This case was not just about addiction.
Marking history in the Oval Office. The yellow brand goes bananas.
This money is not going to replace what's been lost.
After a jury orders the company to pay up. Neighbors turned heroes.
I think it was a bad situation getting worse.
To help save people from a 2-story window. And streaming prices spike.
You're going to have to pay a little bit more.
As new shows and movies are set to stream soon. These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Jason Arrow.
I'm Ana Paula Mayorga. Today's Wednesday, June 12th of 2024.
Live from the Lee Caplin School of Journalism and Media in North Miami, this is Caplin News.
President Biden's son, Hunter, found guilty on gun charges. Hunter Biden is guilty of 3 felonies, a first for the child of a sitting president.
The ruling came down yesterday, and as CNN show Hubbard reports, the jury deliberated for less than 3 hours.
A jury in Delaware found Hunter Biden guilty on 2 counts relating to lies about his drug use on a federal background check form when he bought a revolver in 2018. His other charge was related to possessing a firearm while addicted to or using illegal drugs.
Ultimately, this case was not just about addiction, a disease that haunts families across the United States.
U.S. Attorney David Weiss says while there was much testimony about the defendant's abuse of drugs and alcohol, Hunter Biden's drug use was not what was on trial.
This case was about the illegal choices defendant made while in the throes of addiction.
Members of the Biden family, including First Lady Jill Biden, were in the Wilmington, Delaware courtroom throughout the trial, showing support for Hunter. One juror said he was initially wowed at the high-profile case.
Kind of sunk in a little bit. Oh, wow. This is the sitting president's son who's on trial.
The president addressed a gun violence prevention event in Washington, D.C. just hours after his son's conviction. He then flew to Delaware Air National Guard Base and hugged his son, Hunter. In a statement, the president reiterated his role as a father, saying, "I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son." During closing arguments, the prosecution was quick to remind jurors that the famous family's support shouldn't impact their decision. One juror said it was all about the evidence.
I believe that he was, and he did knowingly buy the gun, knowing that he was a drug addict.
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
Drying out this morning, but not for long, Miami was one of several cities in Florida with the distinction of getting a month's worth of rain in a single day. Also on that list was Southwest Florida and the Sarasota area. According to the National Weather Service, Sarasota saw nearly 4 inches of rain during the daylight hours. The previous record was just over 3 inches, set in January of 2006.
Unprecedented summer heat waves has sent thousands to the emergency room nationwide. Caplin's Melissa Crickler has red flags to help you recognize signs of heat-related illnesses.
Unprecedented heat waves have sent more people to the emergency room, according to CDC data.
Heat can affect pretty much any body system, unfortunately, if it's left unchecked.
Between May and September last year, CDC data shows the number of ER visits for heat-related illnesses substantially increased across several U.S. regions when compared to the same 5 months of the 5 previous years, especially among men and adults between the ages of 18 and 64. These illnesses can be dangerous, even deadly, which is why it's important to know the signs, says emergency room Dr. Kevin Watkins with Cleveland Clinic.
The most patients that we see that deal with severe heat illness, like I said, primarily heat stroke, are usually more elderly patients with underlying health conditions, or sometimes even young children that aren't put in a safe environment.
One of the most dangerous heat-related illnesses is heat exhaustion. Signs include heavy sweating, cold, pale, and clammy skin, fast pulse, nausea, vomiting, muscle cramps, fatigue, or dizziness, headache, and fainting. Get medical help right away if the symptoms last longer than an hour or get worse, or if you're throwing up. The most serious condition in high temperatures is heat stroke, which is a medical emergency. Red flags are a high body temperature of 103 degrees or higher, hot, red, dry, or damp skin, fast, strong pulse, dizziness, nausea, confusion, and losing consciousness. The CDC says these symptoms should prompt an immediate call to 911. For Caplin News, I'm Melissa Crickler.
No information this morning on the suspect of the massive apartment fire in downtown Miami. Police have identified the man they arrested as 73-year-old Juan Francisco Figueroa. They say he's the man who shot someone on Monday and intentionally set fire to the building at Northwest 3rd Street and 4th Avenue. Several residents and firefighters were taken to hospital over smoke inhalation, but many were rescued safely.
The world's most famous banana company is on the hook for millions this morning after a groundbreaking case in West Palm Beach federal courtroom. Jurors decided that Chiquita was liable for financing a terrorist organization, which is responsible for many human rights abuses. The AUC was a right-wing paramilitary group connected to landowners and corporate interests in northern Colombia. The $38 million verdict was a civil case, so there is no criminal wrongdoing.
This money is not going to replace what's been lost. We're still talking about horrific abuses that these families have suffered. But the money is important because, unfortunately, the language that corporations understand the best is money.
The case here in South Florida only represented a few of the plaintiffs. A team of attorneys said it intends to pursue further lawsuits.
Shifting over to Tallahassee Court, a federal judge found Florida law that banned gender transition care for minors and gave adults hurtless in seeking it unconstitutional. Judge Rover L. Hinkle's 105-page order stated that, quote, gender identity is real, end quote, and that puberty blockers and hormone treatments that Florida unlawfully banned are a, quote, widely accepted standard of care.
This video remains this morning as evidence of a race to rescue both by firefighters and by a neighbor, as Caplin's Brian Diaz reports that happened Saturday in Denver.
As smoke and people poured out of a second-story window, neighbors raced across the street to help.
The flames were coming out the front door when the other guy kicked it in, and I think it was a bad situation getting worse.
Adam Steinbach quickly realized this awning outside the window wasn't going to support people for long.
They were obviously cut off from the front door to be able to exit, so that was the only way they could get out. Figured out how we going to get him down. It was definitely too far to jump. So yeah, I just ran back and grabbed a ladder, threw it up, and was able to get a couple of them down before the fire department showed up with the taller guy.
Denver Fire says 5 people were taken to the hospital.
Yeah, they were in pretty bad shape. Definitely smoked up and hair singed and lots of bumps and bruises from trying to crawl around and whatnot. They were pretty scared.
Adam credits the firefighters for getting here quickly. A fast response he knows a thing or two about.
Yeah, early on in my life I was a firefighter for a few years, so had a little bit of recollection there I could go back to.
He's hoping the people he helped are okay and says he's thankful he was able to help.
A little chaotic, yeah. Nice calm morning turned into a lot of chaos, but thank God nobody was killed.
The cause of the fire is still under investigation. For Caplin News, Brian Diaz.
The Marlins visit the Big Apple, looking for a win on the road.
That's still ahead, and so is this story.
You have all these services all creating their own original programming, which is expensive to create, and in turn, you're going to have to pay a little bit more for those services.
A change in the price you pay for streaming services. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
See us dream. See us remember. See us protest.
You matter. Your feelings matter. Your identity matters. Everything about who you are matters.
See us fight back. See us rebuild. See us shatter stereotypes. See us inspire. See us united. See us now.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
College streamflation. Consumers are noticing a spike in prices during that time of year when millions are away from school or on vacation from work. While summer continues to heat the temperature around us, streaming service prices have started to heat up and increase as well.
As CNN's Karen Kaifa reports, the price increases have occurred due to the cost of doing business with other networks.
Escaping the summer heat to the air-conditioned comfort of a binge watch is getting more expensive.
If your original plan was, well, I'll save money, I'll get rid of cable, I'll have 1 or 2 streaming services. Now you need multiple streaming services, and you're more or less right back to what you were spending when you had cable, the other day.
Among streamers increasing prices this summer, NBC Universal's Peacock, with higher prices for monthly and annual plans starting in July. Max, the streamer of Warner Brothers Discovery, CNN's parent company, will raise prices on its ad-free services by $10 to $20 annually starting in July. And Spotify will also boost costs for U.S. subscribers starting in July. The price hikes come as streaming media companies face their own increases in the cost of doing business as they expand content offerings to keep up with one another.
You have all these services all creating their own original programming, which is expensive to create, and in turn, you're going to have to pay a little bit more for those services.
Nicholas De Leon, senior tech reporter for Consumer Reports, says streamers will likely experiment with different offers like lower price tiers with ads to keep inflation-weary subscribers tuned in.
Expect to see more bundles, expect to see more promotions. If you buy this product, we'll throw in that service, that type of thing. So it's a little bit chaotic, but that makes it fun.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
The Marlins are swimming well in the concrete jungle this morning after a get-right win to their kickoff series against the Mets in New York. Down 2-1 in the 5th inning last night, Tim Anderson would run from first to third after a heads-up play, though he would not be there for long as a Brian De La Cruz double would send him home, and Jazz Chisholm Jr. would score off a Mets error at third base. The official will now relinquish the lead for the rest of the night, and the final score was Mets 2, Marlins 4. These two teams will face off again tonight at 7 p.m. You're watching Newsbreak, and we're coming right back.
How prepared is your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a hurricane? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
I debate all day. It's what I do. But there are some things that are undebatable, like your mental health. I was in a dark place when my brother passed away in a car accident. I was depressed in ways I never imagined. I reached out, and my sisters came, my pastor, my therapist. They helped me get through it. I found that the more I spoke up, the healthier my mind became. When you love your mind, you can go so much further. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I help our fellows design their paths as creative entrepreneurs.
My experiences serving startups, creative businesses, and cultural organizations, and my journey as a queer mixed immigrant with Haitian and Arabic roots, inform the co-creative environment we foster at Radcliffe. We leverage our collective diversity to encourage the building of lifelong personal learning networks and mindsets that stimulate continuous innovation.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Ana Paula Mayorga.
I'm Jason Harrow. Get more news anytime at caplinnews.fiu.edu.